It is Krystine, the Beauty Pro Coach, and I am here with Cameron Hafetz of Genesis Private Label. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and say all the things that he's here to tell us about because I have so many questions. So, hey, Cameron.
Hey, Christine. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, tell us about who you are, what you do, what does it mean to have a private label, all of that.
Yeah, so I'll try to make a long story short on, I guess, my background and the company's background.
Okay.
So I am what I like to call a beauty business baby. So my parents met within the industry.
I
Um,
love that.
they
I
had
say
to,
that too, except I say hair baby, but that's really
yeah.
cute. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, they pretty much, so for generations, my family uh, was distributing hair products. They once owned a company called Raylon, which they ended up having to sell to L'Oreal at the time. But our mission throughout all the history of all of my father and his father and my brother and my sisters is to help salons grow their business. And we found that retail was just another way to take it to the next level. And education was a huge part that grew that and our relationships with salons. But when we were distributing products, we kind of noticed a kind of a never-ending cycle
Mhm.
where it was the manufacturer would sell and educate products to us, and then we sell and educate the products to the salon owners and stylists, and then you would
Mhm.
sell and educate those products to your customers. And then once they fell in love with those products then became available at grocery stores, online, at CVS's.
Yeah.
So it kind of really hurt to see the manufacturers kind of bite the hand that fed them, which is
Mhm.
you guys and your professional opinions and just advice and all of that. And we realized the best way to fight that and to maintain getting income for retail and not having your clients get it somewhere else is by getting them to love a product that you make it and they can only get from you, and add a turnkey solution. So
That's
what we
cool.
do is we make it very, very accessible, probably the best quality, definitely the best quality, and the most affordable turnkey solution on starting your own brand. So I know I'm keep ranting, but I might as well just
No, it's
keep talking.
totally
But
fine.
so yeah, so normally if you start your own hair care company, you would have to find, a lab to produce it. You'd have to find a chemist to formulate it. You'd have to find packaging. You'd have to find an artist. You'd have to find labels, and you'd have to buy in giant quantities, which is
Yeah.
what we have to do, and formulate in giant quantities. So what we did is made a turnkey solution where you don't have to do that, and you could literally start a brand for a grand in less than a month. It could be on your shelves.
I love that.
Yep.
I love that because I know everything that you said just now is 100% correct. And there's lots of, um, what is it like? I didn't finish my coffee this morning, so I'm kind of like airheaded. There's a lot of controversy, that's the word I'm looking for, when it comes to products and the distributors and the brands and all these things. So creating your own is like an amazing solution, right?
Yeah.
How many of your clients have had a real success with this?
A lot of them do really well. And I think it helps with the whole, like I said earlier, the whole loyalty aspect of it.
Hmm.
So not just with loyalty of buying products, but also service loyalty. So let's say I ran out of shampoo or I ran out of my
Hmm.
favorite flex paste that I use on my hair, and,
Hmm.
and I wanted to quick get some. I could only get some from you. I could say, you know what, I could go for a trim while I'm there, or you know what, I might as well get a root touch up, or not. I mean, not me personally, but it helps with that as well. And also, um, at the end of the day, you're the one that cuts their hair.
Yeah.
So it's cool to expand your canvas from the head and their hair onto your retail. And it kind of reminds you who you are. I remember when my dad first came up with this concept, he used to have a corny slogan of getting in the shower with your clients. So because you bring the shampoo in. But yeah, and what gets me excited, I mean, obviously the business, it helps grow that, but I just think the art aspect of it's really cool because we're a very artistic industry and
Hmm.
visual, and being able to get to expand your canvas, and it literally comes like, here's
Yeah,
a
I want to
bottle.
see.
So, I mean, this is just a flower. There's normally a top to it. But so here's our standard bottle. It comes completely blank. So this is a whole canvas that you can do whatever to. And here's like an example. So we do have an artist that can bring to life what you're envisioning, but
Mm-hmm.
she actually created this herself, this imagery.
That's cute.
She has a
That's
salon in
cute.
Ohio.
It's
But
cool.
and you get to name it whatever, and it's
Yeah.
fun, and it's also good to do with a team, because it can then start to feel like it's your own kind of thing. And the price points are incredible. Like our shampoo is $8.50. So and the cool thing is that you don't have to be chained to a certain price. So normally when you're selling products, you'd say, oh, well, I can only sell it for this much because they can get it online here, or they can get it at another
Mm-hmm.
salon here. But with
Mm-hmm.
this, you could sell it. You could do like the standard double mark. You could say, all right, we're going to sell it for $17, or you could sell it for 30. You could sell it for 35. You could collaborate with a local charity, give percentages to that. So that's a whole other exciting part of it. It just really
I
just
like
helps
it.
with
Yeah.
creativity and
So
giving
when
more.
it comes to a salon owner or maybe a booth renter, whoever it is that wants to have this product line, this the expansion of their brand, do they get to try your products first, like in like little sample sizes, or do they have to like just commit and like be like, okay, here we go?
Yeah, no, we definitely wouldn't want someone to just say, yeah, let's do, give, without, so we do have a sample kit.
Okay.
Um, and what that comes with is one full size product. So it's not even little ones. You get a full size retail size
Okay.
product, one of each. There's 16 total formulas. So you get to see what formulas you love.
Okay.
Because you don't have to bring on the whole line in its entirety. So we've
Okay.
literally had people just say, oh, we want just hairspray, or oh, we want
Yeah.
everything but we don't like your purple shape, or whatever.
Hmm.
So you can pick and choose what products you want. You'll see online it'll say the intro comes with 6 of these or 12 of these and
Hmm.
you can ignore that, because in reality, once the artwork's done, and the artwork is included with the intro,
Hmm.
um, so that once that's done, you can then choose which products you'd like. And the sample kit, the value of it is over $140,
Hmm.
and we do it for 65.95.
Oh,
And then also, if you get an intro within a month of the sample kit, you get fully reimbursed at 69.95. So it can be
wow.
free, or worst case scenario, you get $140 worth of product for 69.95 that you can just
Oh
use it.
my gosh. Okay. I don't know. You can totally answer this question or totally bypass it, but have you seen a total increase in hair salon owners and hairstylists coming to you guys because they just can't afford the prices of brands?
Totally, yeah. And
Yeah.
and we see a lot of our clients and partners are actually suite owners as well.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
so we've seen an increase in that as well, and big salons. Like we have multiple location salons, but yeah, we try to make it affordable and doable by everyone.
That is, where are you guys located?
So we're based out of Reading, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I love that. Were you guys okay? Were you at the PA Beauty show?
I was at the last two. I was not at the most recent one. I unfortunately couldn't make it this year, but it's a
Okay.
blast, and
Yeah.
I love the energy, and it's so cool what Tracy does and everyone else. Just the
Yeah.
DIY, bringing in shows. Those are type of shows I grew up going to. So, uh,
100%. I just went to that one this year
nice.
and it was such a cool, like all about the stylist. The energy was good. It was all about education. And even our conversation now, like this is something that I have always had questions about. So I know other hairdressers are going to want to know about this. Okay. So now that's anything else that you want to add about the actual company? Because I really want to get into your story.
Yeah. So I guess the other good note to say about the company is our formulas are all really prestige and really good. They're phthalate free, sulfate free, cruelty free.
Okay.
They check the marks of that. So, um,
Are they made
and
in
we also,
America?
what was that?
Are they made in America?
Yeah. So our aerosol formulas are
Mhm.
aerosol, not aerosol.
New
uh,
word, guys.
which could be a cool
Carousel.
name for a hairspray. Our
I
aerosol.
I know. I totally love it. Let's do it.
But our aerosol products are based out of Canada,
Okay.
which is only we have a drop dry shampoo, a hairspray, and a Style and Shine spray.
Okay.
Uh, but the rest of it is based out of USA.
That's okay. So here's a hot topic, right? Now that you mentioned that. How did the tariffs come into play? Because it's made in
Surprisingly,
Canada.
yeah. So surprisingly, our last order we did and planned with them, we didn't get hit by a tariff charge,
Okay.
which we were kind of surprised by. But
Yeah,
I could see it being an ongoing thing, and we've experienced some price increases that we've had to,
sure.
and we haven't done a personal company price increase in years. So,
Okay.
but
Okay. There's
yeah,
no excuse. Like we can do this, you guys. If you listening, watching, like this is your sign to get to expand your brand. So you mentioned that you were, what was it that you said? A beauty babe, a beauty baby?
oh, beauty business, baby, yeah,
Beauty business baby.
yeah.
Okay, so kind of elaborate on that because the hair industry is all about family. It's very intimate. So like what happened there? Why are you in sales? Why are you not behind the chair?
Okay, so like I said earlier, my dad was involved with distributing,
Mhm.
and I guess I'll tell how him and my mom met. So
Yes.
so
We're
it's kind
girl.
of a cute
A lot
story.
of the listeners are ladies and we love a good love story. So go ahead.
Okay, so you'll love this story then.
Okay.
So this my dad's older. My dad's 80, so he could be pretty much my grandfather.
Okay.
And so this is a while ago. This is like late 70s, I would guess, maybe even early
Perfect.
80s. And at the time, he was looking for a new salesperson.
Okay.
Um, and he went to a company. There's people that help people get jobs. If I forget what the
Sure.
exact title is. My mom was doing that, so she was sending people to him, and he wouldn't accept anyone. Like no, none of the people that she was sending he would hire. And she started to get pissed off, and she's like, "I'm gonna." So she went in like disguise, pretty much saying, "I'm the next person." She wanted to see what, and then he hired her, and she ended up saying, "I'm gonna take the job." So she ended up actually first setting herself up to like see why this guy isn't hiring anyone, but then ended up saying, "I'm gonna take the job." So then she was, and actually at the time, which sounds crazy if you think about it, our sales team was all men. And this is the 80s, which is, and
Wow.
now a distributor sales team is primarily women, which makes way more sense. But at the time, my mom was the first sales representative that was a woman, and which is crazy. Like, and it was just a bunch of guys with like briefcases and top, like just like typical cliche sales dudes. And
Sure.
so she so that's how they met. And then
Okay.
my favorite story, her first day on the road, my dad gave her like there was like a promotion or something to push
Sure.
or sell. And she went to, let's say it was like 16 salons, and she said, and he goes, "How was your day?" And he goes, and she knows nothing about sales and like how often it just doesn't, like you have to go to a lot to sell something.
Sure.
And she said, "Oh, I don't think I did too good. The one salon didn't buy it." So that means she went to 15 and sold it. And instead of saying, "Oh, that's the best ever," he just said, "Oh, maybe you'll do better next time," to keep her fired up and passionate. But anyways,
That's
um,
cute.
yeah. So then they started a magazine, Salon Today, which they ended up selling when I was on the way.
Wait,
Uh,
what? Rewind. Your parents started Salon today?
Yes, yeah, it was around USA Today timings, and then I ruined it. They didn't really
I'm so
plan to have me,
sorry.
and so I mean, I think they also were at a point with it where they were ready to sell it, but they weren't expecting me, and my mom was, kind of getting older, and I think she was just like, I think we're gonna have the kid and try to. I think they had to like sell the magazine, and
Whoa, that was like a total curveball. I love Salon today.
yeah, it's
Oh
great.
my gosh. And like, okay, that's cool. Blew me right out the water. Okay, continue.
Yeah, yeah. My dad was very he's a creative, like very entrepreneurial. Like he's
Yeah,
been a little like Raylon was the distributorship was our main thing, but he did stuff like Salon Today, and then he did like a men's salon because he didn't want to compete with primarily his clients. So
sure.
he did like a men's salon called American Male, which my oldest sister does, and then this.
That is so cool. Okay. Wow, I was not expecting that at all, actually. So Salon today. Huh. What was I know to like now Salon Today is all about like business and like business tips for salon owners and stuff. Is that something that he had started? Like that was his vision, or what was his vision with the magazine?
Yeah, so it was a lot to do. I think his thing he was most passionate about was education, and that's kind of what
Oh,
grew our company. Because it was around like this is back when like Redken was new, you know.
right, right.
Like my dad would go on the road with the owner, take her to Burger King, you know. Like this is how long ago this was. So
I
so
love
this
this.
is so it was kind of during when like things from like the Britain invasion was going on and all the great artistry
Yeah.
were coming from there. And my
Yeah.
dad noticed this. And before we were just distributors, and I think he was a huge pioneer in like the whole education aspect of
Yeah.
the industry. Like the first time Vidal Sassoon or Paul Mitchell came to America was Reading, PA. Maybe not the first time, but at our gallery, like the showroom. So, like, there's even stories like where we make our products or put together. And Paul Mitchell once smoked a joint there, which is a
That's
whole other
so
story.
funny.
So, which I could go on and be all ADD and tell that story, but I love that story too. But yeah, so um,
Absolutely share that story. Wait a minute.
all right,
Like,
so well, I mean, R.I.P. But so
yeah.
he was a great with crowd, and my dad was newly to doing these shows, and he had a show going on, and like not even halfway, but almost like three-fourths way through the show, he saw everyone going outside to like smoke cigarette, like there's a break, and or like
Right.
ended early, and he's like, "What the heck?" Like he still has like 45 minutes. Where's Paul? Like can't find him, and he found him in the warehouse taking a break with.
The joint.
Yeah, and he said, and the best part of the story is he said, Howard, don't worry. I'm a professional, and I sensed that the audience needed a joint. Not that he needed a joint, but and which portrays on
Wow.
like how the connection between the speaker and the audience. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and then there's another story where a great Paul Mitchell story where it was. I don't think it was in Reading, but he goes on stage, and my dad said, "Paul, whatever you do, you just can't say the word F-U-C-K.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
can't say the F bomb. Okay.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and you can't swear. You can't swear. And so and so he gets on stage, and right away doesn't address the audience. He has his back face to him. He's doing a haircut, and my dad's freaking out. He's like, "What is going on?" Like my dad said, he's like literally smoking two cigarettes at the same time, just like having a mental breakdown. And then Paul turns around and he grabs the mic and he says, "I'm sorry, I can't do the show. Howard said I can't swear, and there's no effing way I can." And the whole crowd went crazy and loved it. And then he continued the show. But yeah, I heard great stories about him, and he was great.
I
Rest in
love
peace.
that. Okay, so real talk, like why didn't you become a stylist or a barber or work behind the chair?
Um, I think, well, I think many reasons. One, no, my father was never a stylist either.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
felt like my whole life I was growing up in beauty school.
Okay.
Um, Also at that time, we started to notice. I didn't think so when we had Raylon. L'Oreal kind of they bought out like 80% of the industry, so they bought a lot of companies like Redken and such,
Mm-hmm.
and Paul Mitchell, and what they started to do after they bought them is control the distribution through their own distributorship,
Okay.
and then so they would go to other distributors like us at the time that were big and say, "Hey, either we're pulling, 80%
Yeah.
off your shelves or sell the business." And
Huh.
so, in all honesty, when I was going to school, I thought I wasn't even going to be involved in the industry because that's what we did.
Oh, yeah.
But they were, I don't know why, but they were so kind and they let us continue doing business. We just had to do it exclusively with salon exclusive brands like Davinis,
Mm-hmm.
and so now we then went from Raylon. We had to change our name
Okay.
after that to
Okay.
Art of Business, and then now that is collaborated with East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
which my brother does, and my older sister Erica is a sales rep, and now
Mm-hmm.
they're Ethos. But Genesis is kind of its whole other thing, and that's what
Okay.
I'm fully involved with, and it gets me really excited as well.
Absolutely. This is so interesting. Like there's like politics with the companies. Like I had this is like a whole new realm, right? Like I am not a stylist either. I do more of like the business and the marketing and this, the coaching, like the behind the scenes stuff for the beauty and barber pros. But when we go to, I'm sure you encountered this, like when the first time you go to a hair show, you're just kind of like injected with, oh my God, like what am I doing here? This is not my world. And then you just now explaining just a tidbit of all like the business part of like aspect of it. That's like another layer to this industry
Yeah.
that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, it's wild. The shows I always feel a part of just because I always grew up in them, even though I'm
Yeah.
not a stylist. So
Yeah.
I'm sure coming into this like in a random time, I would totally feel like overwhelmed and um, but yeah, it's such an interesting career because it's both you're an artist and you have to be a business person, and a lot of times you have to be an owner, a leader, and it's so many talents to juggle, and it's incredible. Like everyone who's doing well in salons it blows my mind. Like it's so hard to keep all those balls in there and
Hmm.
really keep those roles really powerful and strong. Because you could be the greatest hairstylist ever, but if you're not a good leader or not good with business, you could not be profiting. Or and then it could be the opposite. And then there's people like you probably met Gino when you're at the show, and he's a perfect example. I mean, he probably was okay at hair, but he makes this whole thing of how he only had one cut, he has terrible hair, but he's incredible with people, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what drove his industry. Um,
Yeah.
because a lot of times the clients don't like a stylist clients aren't there because of just their work, but because of the relationship they have
Mm.
and it's not even that they fear oh someone will cut it wrong. They just feel like it's which is a whole other aspect I could get into called psychosmetology,
Do
which
it.
would be a
Do it.
cool
What
book for
is
you.
that? What is that? It's a
Um,
big word that I want to know about.
yeah, so it's a concept. So my dad had a friend in high school who in high school was kind of like I think he explained he was like a wild dude, you know,
I love
and he
it.
bumped into him and or he saw him. I forget if he bumped into him or discovered somewhere or heard that he wrote a book and he became a psychiatrist or psychologist. I forget which one,
Okay.
but was a doctor and helping people and was studying psychology and
Okay.
was writing books. And my dad's like bought the one book and loved it so much that he was giving it to stylists, even though it wasn't
Oh,
about the industry. And then one
okay.
day, I think he reached out with him, talked about that, and then a little after that, he, the Dr. Lou, who wrote the book, he who's not a stylist, he had a scenario that was a huge eye opener, and it was he had a client come in who really had this crush on a guy, and she really liked this guy, and every week she'd come in and she'd say, oh, like he hasn't said anything to me yet. Like he hasn't approached me. So he gave her advice. He said, you know what? How about you start a conversation with him? You know, and I can't wait to hear. And all week he's like, I can't wait to hear how it went. I hope it went well in his head. And she gets back and he goes, so how'd it go? And she says, you know, I was going to do it, but I didn't because my hairstylist told me it was a bad idea. And at first he was like, what the hell? Like, why? I'm a professional. Why isn't she taking my advice over the hairstylist? And then he realized he looked into it of all of the reasons why stylists are a lot like psychologists that, you know, through the power of touch, they see
Mhm.
the person before every big event of their year.
Yeah.
Stylists know that a lot of times, sometimes people will just disclose the craziest things to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so he wrote a whole concept called psychosmetology. That's all about that. And I highly recommend if you can find the book, reading it or seeing Dr. Lou speak. He's incredible.
Yeah.
But it's a really interesting concept, which I believe a lot in. So yeah, like your earlier question, they're business owners, they're artists, they're psychologists, they're leaders. So the whole shebang.
I love it. That is, I love that. I definitely want to see if I can find that book because I'm all about it. I love all the self-help stuff. So Absolutely. Being in the product side of the industry, where do you see the industry in 5 years?
Um, it's hard to say. It depends on what brand we're speaking of. I'm hoping that people do more of this,
Okay.
obviously,
Okay.
for themselves and for us. Um, but I see, like there's a lot of lines that I've seen before that I never thought would be available elsewhere that have, and then some that, and then new ones will pop up. So, we've been on a huge like sustainability kick and that
Mm-hmm.
being a passion with people,
Mm-hmm.
which is something we started offering gallons with hope that people will do like a growler system or refill and just
Right.
use less plastic. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I think it is like before people exclusively got their hair products from their stylist, but now with
Mm.
Amazon and it being available everywhere,
Right.
you have to really do something to stick out, and you have to really train your clients and educate them and not necessarily sell them the retail, but um, bring it up in the consultation, which is something I learned from Nikki, who was probably at the
Right.
PA show as well.
Okay.
um, is bringing it up 3 times is a huge like I'm putting the
Yes.
shampoo in your hair right now, and then later like oh I'm using my hairspray for this, um, and kind of just going through that, and then at the end saying if you want to continue this look that and keep your hair looking the way it does when you leave here, I recommend these 3 products. And
Yes.
also the rule of three, you're more likely to sell one product if you try to sell three than if you just sell one. So for example, if at the end of every service you just try to sell someone a shampoo, you would have less sales than if you offered them, hey, I think you should get this shampoo, this conditioner, and this styling product, or these 2 styling products
Oh,
and this shampoo. Because what happens is when they're offered three, they're more likely to then just buy one rather than
got it.
just offering one. Yeah.
Oh, I love that tip. Yes. Okay, so then oh, I had a question and it left me. Oh, man. Okay. So what do you tell or what would be your advice to stylists? Okay, here, now I remember that don't I know quite a few stylists that just don't want to sell. They just don't. They don't want to sell. They just want the
Yeah.
client to come in, I do their hair, and they go home. They don't want to, like, no affiliate links, no retail, like, sales certificate with the government, none of that. What do you tell them?
Well, I get when people feel that way because sometimes I even feel that way, and
Yeah.
I think you have to kind of because sometimes we're artists. Like you always will hear, "I'm not a salesperson. I'm an artist in the industry."
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes what I realize is, in order to start to kind of be more passionate about sales, or just thinking, is kind of taking a step back and looking at the big picture.
Yeah.
So your job is to make them look best and drive their confidence. So if if what you're saying is I'm an artist, not a salesperson, and you're passionate about your art, then you're going to want them to have the right tools to maintain your art in general. Um, Also, retail sales can be the difference between a successful salon or a salon that's not profiting, which is
Mm.
wild, and it shouldn't always be that way. And I always recommend people raise their prices, but it's just a whole other source of income, and can help keep the lights on and maintain you to do what you love. So I wouldn't try to go there and pressure yourself. Oh, I need to sell this many things, but just kind of like what I was saying earlier, be passionate about what you're doing and tell them and inform them because you're their coach. You're who
Mm-hmm.
they look to. You're the professional. So if you're saying this is the product you need, then that's most likely going to be the product they do. And I do notice, and even there are still some very few salons that are so successful that don't sell retail, but I think it's just a huge opportunity to
Yeah.
make the difference of that and to support the longevity of your craft.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so what's an important strength or trait um that any beauty or barber pro needs to have to be successful?
I think just being personable and being go see Gino. I think he'd be
Gino.
I think he's a perfect example. Just being a good person and someone they can talk to and trust and have a deeper connection with. I think that goes a long way.
Mm,
Having a client that will stay with you forever.
yeah.
Um, raising your prices always, you'll hear, and staying up to date with what's cool and like education and trends. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What, as a salesperson yourself,
Hmm.
okay, what has been your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Oh, I've been kicked out of salons a few, or don't call
Really?
not kicked out hardcore, but I've had um, my biggest fail. I don't know. And I've done more than just I've done a lot in this
Yeah,
company. I've done everything from productions to and for a little on social media,
sure.
um,
The sky's the limit
customer
here.
service.
The
Yeah,
sky's the
but
limit here. Whatever area it is that you just sticks out in your mind, what was
I
that
think
failure?
you know consistency is key.
Hmm.
So when I'm selling on the road, it can be different than when you're selling in a salon. So I would say consistently talk about your products, get them to consistently use your products. Um, don't take rejection as a personal thing, and don't. It's kind of a lot of times I go on the road and have a day where I didn't sell anything, and
Mm,
I take it almost personally. But I think
yeah.
just realizing that you're not there to boost your own ego or reach that number, you're there to help them achieve what they need to achieve. And same with your clients, you're there to help them maintain the looks that you're creating. So kind of looking at that big picture.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, there's times I've been kicked out. I'm thinking biggest failure. Yeah, there was times where I would be so annoyed because I would try to be consistent. I would pull up to the salon and say, "Oh gosh, I got to go in here. I know they hate me here," and I go in, "Oh, I'd love to schedule an appointment," and then they would call the headquarters and be like, "Please don't ever have him, come here again." It wasn't anything I did bad, but I actually thought I was going to get in trouble for it, and then my boss at the time was like, "Well, I'm actually proud that you kept going in." Consistency is, I
Yeah.
guess, is a major lesson to learn from that is, and don't take if someone doesn't buy anything, it's not because they don't like, they're still behind the chair. They still believe in you. They're already
Mhm.
investing in you. So selling them
Right.
products, especially if it's your name on it, they're already sold on the products before you even mention it, especially
Yeah.
products that are your own retail line. You could say, hey, when we developed these, I literally was thinking of your hair when we came out with this volumizing foam. And and sure they
Boom.
might not, sure they don't have to know you're not making in the bathtub, but you could say things like that, and it's more personable when you have your own
Sure.
line.
Sure. Okay. So, what insult have you ever gotten that you're just so proud of?
Insult?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know any that I'm proud of. I'll
Well,
tell you
it's
that.
like a driving force. Like they
Uh,
insulted you and you're like, "Okay, I'm going to go for it now even harder."
I don't know. That's a tough. I think as a person, when I was a kid, I went to go, and this has nothing to do with the industry.
Totally fine.
But one story that sticks out is I was doing Taekwondo as a kid, and I failed my test for a black belt, so I had to do a whole other year of that, and that was really embarrassing when I couldn't break the one board with my elbow. I was probably like 11, but it was like humiliating for me at the time. Um, Also, I think as a kid and a teenager, I skateboarded a lot, so that's constant falling and getting,
Um,
rejected and hurt. But when you finally land it or accomplish what you're trying, you then get a sense of joy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. What a great metaphor for life and for like everything that we're talking about. Like as a beauty and barber professional, like rejection is part of the job. And so for
Yeah.
you, for you, the skateboarding was like getting rejected by the board. Well, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very used to getting rejected, especially if you're a salesperson. That's you have to become one of getting rejected.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so being that you are a beauty business baby,
Yeah.
what is a lesson that you have learned working in this industry that you wish, like the postman and the doctors and the lawyers, that what's the lesson that you wish they would learn too?
Um, I think the first point of go like being more personable, getting
Hmm.
to know your clients. Because when you go to a doctor, you're not telling. Uh, Sometimes people are more honest with their hairstylist than they are with their
Yeah.
doctor. So I guess if they have that social approach. But doctors usually, I mean, some are very social and cool,
Hmm.
but I feel like our industry has a lot more cool, extroverted, fun people than doctors. But I
Yeah.
think just that is huge.
Okay. Yeah.
Being more personable.
Absolutely. That is like key for everything.
Mhm.
Everything, like in our industry, but just in life, right? Okay. So, what is a question that I that you wish I would have asked you that I did not, and how would you have answered?
Um, Good question. I don't know. I don't. I think you've covered. I can't think of one that I'm begging you to ask me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So, how can people get in contact with you and Genesis private label? Like, how can we make our own brand? How do we do this? What are the steps?
Yeah, so it's a really easy process to get started. And I can send you my contact info if you want my number afterwards and my email,
Yes.
and I'll total
Yes.
and my personal Instagram.
Sure.
Um, but in order to do this, it's to do private label, it's a three-step process. So the first step, which I already talked about, was
Hmm.
getting a sample kit to see what products you love enough to want to call your own.
Yeah.
Um, then after that, you have two intro options.
Okay.
Um, and there's either $1,000 option or a $2,000 option, which is either $1,000 worth of retail plus you get a bonus liters and gallons and such with it. But the main thing it covers is you get an art. You work with our artist. So let's say your
Okay.
salon already has a logo. You
Yeah.
could send her that and be like, I want this logo, but maybe I want it to be red instead of blue, or I want these products to be that color.
Okay.
And we do also have tiers of that. So we
Okay.
like for 500 is the standard. Like if you already have a logo in place and want to use our names and already have a vision, that comes with it. But if someone wants her to start from scratch and build like a complete new logo from just
Hmm.
talking to her, that could be up to an additional 500, which
Sure.
is still not much.
Right.
Um, but once you do that, you have that art forever that you can use on whatever.
Mhm.
And we then have your art aligned with each product and what the art's going to say and what the products are called. And that way, when you order, we quick just put it on and we print it on or label it on. So yeah, so then you get an intro. You choose which intro. You work with a designer. Then once the designer finishes, then our brand manager Jackie, who's great, she then calls and that's when you choose what products you want to come with the intro to add to 1,000 or 2,000 depending which intro you do.
Got it.
And then once you do that, there's no minimum order quantity. So if you want to reorder online, it goes by quantities of 6, but if
Hmm.
you can call it in and maybe do less if you want, but we
Sure.
always recommend doing quantities of 6 for shipping safety, and just it makes sense to do it that way for
Right.
standpoint as well. um, but yeah, normally if you were to start your own line, you would have to order in quantities of like thousands, So
Yeah,
this
that is true.
allows even someone who's an independent operating salon to have minimal products at a time. So once you're started, we have your art. You can do that. You can always later down change your artwork. You would have to pay for a design fee
Sure.
and such, but yeah, and we have different packaging options now. So before we only had this one. It does not come with this plant. I just have it in here. Um, which you could print whatever onto.
Sure.
And I still think this is my personal favorite packaging option,
Yeah.
because it's a blank canvas.
It's so different too. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, and it's modern. It normally has a
Yeah.
pump here.
Yeah.
Um, but then we also came out with round ones that we are labeling, and then we wrap a
Ooh.
label around it.
Ooh, I like
Um,
it.
and this also will come in white and in amber, like transparent, like something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Okay,
this is
cool.
another one too.
I like it.
These and the round ones though are additional $2 per unit,
Sure.
because the productions for them take a little bit longer and they're a little more pricey. But yeah, you can kind of mix it up and have fun. I love seeing the creative names people come up with their products. You could do fun things like I remember. Do you know James Alba?
No.
He was great.
No.
He goes to the local shows a lot, but
Okay.
he went his salon. I think once did like a collaboration with a local charity, so they can give a
Oh.
percentage to that. So you could do something like that.
Yeah. Like special edition, like, hey, we're doing this for XYZ charity.
Yeah, and you could even, with their permission, then print like their logo on the bottom corner, like 10% of this will go to. So you can, so to get, sometimes salon owners have trouble getting stylists motivated to sell retail. But one
Mm-hmm.
way you could do it is if everyone figures out something they're passionate about raising money for, the whole team, then that could be a way to help stylists get pumped for this.
Yeah.
Also, just coming up with the names and making it kind of a team thing when you
Mm-hmm.
when you design the product, which I always recommend. Um, and yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, forget. But
It's
yeah, you
all
could do things.
it's
You
all
could
the
do
things.
collaborating with that,
Okay.
and a whole bunch of other different fun things with it.
I love that. Okay, cool. Now, do you guys go to any of the other trade shows?
So far we've only done the PA beauty show. And we did like
Okay.
mentors and masters, which was with Nikki and Gino.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, we're still, this is still a relatively smaller company. So,
Okay.
but we would like to one day be able to go to more shows for sure.
Okay, very cool. All right, you guys. So if you're watching or listening, we are going to have Cameron's contact info and Genesis private label info in the show notes. So definitely reach out to him, ask him all of your questions. And yeah, thanks for listening, you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Until next time, guys.